Hello and thank you for joining us on Thursday's edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Esther Mokwariola. Today on the program, 7 Ekiti governorship aspirants withdraw from APC primary election amid protest by party members. Call for cancellation as Governor Fayoshe's anointed candidate Bisi Kolawole wins PDP governorship ticket. And later on the show, how Saraki Okorocha joined 2023 presidential race. I will be hanging out with Babjide Kolade-Otitoju and Olabisi Deji-Folutile. Journalist Hangout starts now. Now, it's less than 6 months to the day of political reckoning regarding the 2022 governorship election in Ekiti State, but the groundwork for a titanic battle is already being laid. 7 out of the 8 aspirants contesting the governorship ticket of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Ekiti State have rejected the conduct of the party's primary election. Now, the 7 aggrieved aspirants, led by Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, called for its cancellation, citing favouritism on the part of the party's national leadership. Meanwhile, the PDP has crossed its own primary Rubicon. A former chairman of the party in the state, Bisi Kolawole, edged out a former governor, Segun Oni, and a former deputy governor, Kolakpo Olushola, to emerge as the PDP candidate for the June 18th governorship election in the southwest state. But first, let's share a video of the protest by the APC aspirants with you.
That is a kid out today. Often one face, and they do a shocking. But you give them space. MOB 1B, Arole 1B. Adéyẹyẹ 1B. Ayọ̀dé 1B. Báfẹ́mù 1B. Fàpí 1B. Gbogbo wọn ló 1B.
Meanwhile, TVC senior political correspondent Ayodele Zubakun, who is in Ekiti State to monitor the exercise, gives us details of what transpired.
For the All Progressive Congress that have chosen to have their own as direct primaries, it seems to be shrouded in controversy as the 7th aspirant out of 8 that are saying that there's no level playing field. They are saying they are backing out from the exercise.
The process is compromised. The electoral resources have been issued to supporters of one of the aspirants. All the electoral materials, all the electoral materials are given to the supporters of one of the aspirants. They are the returning officers. They are the one conducting the elections.
The point is very clear. The process has been hijacked by Ekiti State government officials from those who were sent from the National Secretariat of the party to conduct these primaries. And there is no way this primary election can go on because they are clearly in violation of the guidelines.
The election committees that will lead the election at the local government and ward level, how were they constituted? And we find out that they were constituted by one of the aspirants. That is the aspirant being sponsored by the state government. And we raised that objection and we said yes, the government may have right to sponsor any candidate, but they must still provide level playing ground for the election.
Confirmed on me as chairman electoral committee in Ward 4. Biodun Abayomi Oyebanji is declared as winner, having garnered the total vote of 1,007 at the level of Ward 4. Thank you.
It's now left for members of the presiding committee from Abuja of the All Progressive Congress to actually wade into the crisis and determine who becomes the candidate of the All Progressive Congress. From Ado Ekiti, Ayodele Zubakun, TVC News.
Right, let's begin with this conversation with you, Babjide. What do you make of the concerns raised by the aggrieved political party members in the primaries conducted in Ekiti State?
Well, I'm not entirely surprised that it has gone this way. whether it's Osun, whether it's Ekiti, wherever primaries are conducted because of the greed for power, you will find that certain steps had been taken to favor a particular candidate. Where a governor, for example, has a candidate, he will do his best to ensure that his candidate emerges the winner at the end of the day. APC as a party has always found it difficult to conduct primaries that will be acceptable across board. And that is why sometimes when they go into the main election, you will find that party members will go and connive with the opposition and ensure that they lose that state. I just hope that this time around, that is not what we are going to see in Ekiti. I've always warned these people that, look, try your best to organize primaries that are not rancorous, so that everyone goes into the election proper singing from the same hymn book. If we don't have that, then people feel aggrieved, will do their best to ensure that the candidate of the party does not win. These things have happened. We've seen these things happen in many states. In Adamawa State, APC members conspired against the incumbent governor, Jubrila Bindo, and made sure that he lost the election. In fact, some left the party for him. If you tally the votes scored by Abdulaziz Onyako, who crossed to the ADC due to irreconcilable differences with the governor, if you tally the votes that he scored with the votes that the APC candidate scored, APC would win the election. That is meaning that if Abdulaziz Murtala Yako had remained in the APC, if he had not left the party to join the ADC, those votes that his own supporters gave him, if they had given it to the original party, the APC, there is no way the APC will not win. Because when you tally the votes of those two parties, ADC and APC, you see that APC will win. So right now, what these guys are saying is that they are saying that the 7 aspirants herein received with rude shock and dismay the purported list of local government election committee and ward election committee made up solely of party members and political appointees that had before now openly endorsed the candidacy of Biodun Yebanji, the immediate past secretary to the state government. They then requested that both the local government election committee and ward election committee constituted on that list already in circulation be disbanded and replaced with names that will reinforce internal democracy and uphold the aims and objectives of the party. Meaning that they want to see people on that list that have not been known to be supporters of the candidate of the governor. They are even calling for outright cancellation. But the problem is, all these major parties had waited for too long to even organize primaries. And tomorrow is the deadline for submission of the flag bearer to INEC.
So what then is the next option?
That's why when they walked up to, they were supposed to have a meeting at 5 and at 9 a.m. today with the man with the funny beard from Jigawa, Governor Badaru. But clearly Badaru, the press statement that they issued condemning this exercise had leaked. So Badaru knew that these guys had issued a press statement, or they were in the process of rolling out a press statement condemning the exercise that he came to organize. So out of that anger, he said he was not going to meet them. He called off the 9 a.m. meeting. That in itself is not the right way to behave. You are supposed to meet with them, calm them down, and explain that, look, at this stage, the party can't afford to postpone because you run out of time already. You have to submit the name of the candidate. And if you do not submit, INEC will deem that you had withdrawn from the race. So Governor Badaru himself is in a bind. How do you, when do you want the fresh primary to be organized? So since they've run out of time, because I heard the INEC chairman saying that he was surprised that parties had not done primaries, they had not brought the names of their standard bearers for the election. He was referring to Osun and Ekiti. Why must you wait until the last minute? For example, if they had 2 weeks, you know, this exercise, the national headquarters of the APC could investigate these claims, because they are claiming that they have pictorial evidence, they have videos and all that. They could investigate and then say, okay, we are going to do a fresh one, maybe tomorrow or next tomorrow. But as things stand now, since the deadline is tomorrow, when do you want to organize primaries? And in my view too, if you want to get out of a contest, you can also not get out at the last minute. Because when you get out at the last minute, there will be, the word will not get to some people that you are no longer in the race, and you are going to see that some of them they will receive some votes, because some of their supporters may not even be aware that they have decided to pull out. So it's really messy that every time this sort of thing happens, parties can organize primaries successfully. They will be fighting, they will take themselves to court. They are already threatening that they will go to court. And you know what this means?
Indeed. Now, BC, when you see this matter closely, it looks like there is a, disunity brewing in the APC, and the elections are approaching, and they have very little time, if at all, to have another primaries being conducted, as taking a position from what Babjide had said so far. What do you think, what other options do you think can be explored when you see that the aggrieved party members have little or no time left for their case to be heard?
As it is, the question I first ask myself is this: are we going with this result? If 8 people are contesting for something and 7 withdrew, remaining 1, what do you say about the results that you get? But clearly, as it is now, APC in Ekiti State is likely to go with the results of the primaries, despite the withdrawal of the other 7 candidates. And what that means is that that is a clear case of disunity in the party. And the implication of that is that the party has already created a scenario of losing the election, the governorship election, because they are not going for that poll as a united front. And that creates room for the opposition to have their way. Yeah. So as it is, I think I don't see because for me, I think it's conducting that primary very late into the deadline is deliberate. I want to look at it as being deliberate, because if it is not deliberate, INEC chairman has been talking for some time now, saying that they gave them deadline, but unfortunately both parties, both popular parties in Ekiti State, chose Wednesday and Thursday. You see, you should have anticipated a problem, and if you anticipate a problem, you should know that you need some time to sort it out. But since this thing is so close now, I don't see the National Planning Committee rejecting the result of this exercise, because they need to submit the candidate's name by tomorrow. But I also think the APC can still call a stakeholders meeting in Ekiti State and still find a way of bringing them together and addressing the problems. Well, then also I don't know how this is going to be addressed. It's such a difficult situation, because if I have a right to contest in a primary and you didn't allow me, you didn't provide a level playing ground for me to contest, and you now choose this very thing I'm protesting against is what has come to pass, and you now come to me to say that you want peace. I mean, that is like walking to the answer. I don't know how that is going to be easy. But the problem now is that I see that this is a common problem of lack of internal democracy, even in our political parties. You talk of democracy is supposed to be a process that gives people the opportunity to choose their leaders. And the most important, the foundation of that is the primary. The way and manner you conduct a primary will show if the candidate is going to be acceptable by the people or not. If from the outset the complaints of the other candidates are genuine, if what they have said is really genuine, then there is a problem with that process. Of course, a governor can have his own candidates, but at least that is where lobbying comes to play. If you know you have a candidate and there are other candidates, I think what can be done is to persuade other people to probably, give in for your candidates. You try to discuss and explain and give and take. That should be the process, not just lording over a candidate above others, because it has a grave implication for our democracy. So really, right now, I don't know what APC in Ekiti State can do. I'm thinking that they are likely to go ahead to present the name of the winner, because that election was held in spite of the protest. Yes, and like Babjide said, it came too late, because some of their supporters will have also voted, and the implication of that is that it has provided a legal binding on that primary. It has shown that even though the candidates withdrew, but it's as if everything still went as it should, which is not really the case.
Indeed. So, Babjide, if this is the case for the 7 out of the 8 aspirants who are not so happy with the outcome, what then should be the onus of the governor of the state? How can he ensure that these people can be assuaged and perhaps work with the team that he's supporting, so to speak?
It's a difficult one. If indeed everything was skewed in favor of the candidate of the governor, then it's dangerous, because you can win the primaries. How about the main election? And we've seen APC members, they are very good at turning against the candidate of their party. Some of the states that they lost, this was what happened, including even Oyo State. So they have a history of doing that, working against the candidate of their party. So the party has to move quickly, because
in so short a time, how can they do that?
No, I mean ahead of the election, because apparently it is still the candidate of the governor. That's the SSG that will be fielded. We saw what happened in Anambra now. There was no primary. There was no primary, but the governor of Ogun State was supposed to supervise the primaries, and they returned tons of votes from that exercise. Clearly audio votes. And we saw the election proper. The question you ask is, the people that you claimed voted for and Uba, where were they on election day? Well, those were phantom figures, sexed up figures, you know, meant to deceive Nigerians. So, if they don't move fast, these people will go to court. The party will be battling with litigation right up to election day, and they could even decide to tell their supporters to go and vote for the opposition
party.
It's happened before. So we saw it in Bauchi, we saw it in Adamawa, we saw it in a few places where they had crisis. Even in Sokoto, they couldn't resolve their crisis. Someone like Governor Tambua used to be in the APC.
Okay, but today, if this is a usual occurrence in internal politics of a party, how can this be resolved? You know, when we have situations where governors are supporting a candidate, shouldn't there be a law that would guard against this kind of thing, so that anyone who wants to contest a seat in governance should be allowed to contest without having to have a support from the godfather or from the political person in charge at the time?
What I thought you were going to ask me was, shouldn't this idea of sending governors to conduct primaries be stopped? Can't the party find wise men who are not biased? Because what happened, even in Bayelsa, there was no primary. APC has a history of organizing fake primaries. There was no primaries in Bayelsa. People like Lokobri and the rest of the Heineken, they were just cheated. There was no primary. Leaders, powerful people within the party would have made up their minds about a candidate. They will now force that candidate on everyone in the name of consensus and other. That's why you see that in crafting this the electoral bill, federal lawmakers were trying to ensure that, okay, if you say there is consensus, then there must be written admittance of the fact of consensus by the people who are contesting, the aspirants. So how do you get everyone to write that, yes, indeed, I agree? Although you still can't put it beyond governors, they can still force people to say, okay, you agree. But at least you are going to lobby people, you are going to talk to people, not that you simply go and bring someone, ensure that that person didn't go through any form of competition, and then he becomes the candidate. It is dangerous in democracy when a few people decide for everyone. And that's what we are seeing, and it's leading to disharmony, it's leading to, it's weakening the party.
Right.
And when you look at the PDP, for example, Chegoni has come out to say they are going to do their best to ensure that Bisikola only wins the election. That means, at this stage, you could say that they've managed their own situation better.
All right. I understand we have a caller online from Jalingo. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, good evening, Esther. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Babjide has actually said everything. Unity is the key that unifies every individual and every community, not even to talk about the political party. Now, the APC is actually showing to the opposition to actually take over Ekiti State. As Babjide actually said it, they made that stupid mistake previously, of which they lost Adamawa, they lost Zamfara, they lost Oyo, and some other few states that I cannot remember. The APC is actually giving an edge to the PDP to actually override them as a ruling party. I don't know when our politicians or when our parties will actually get back to their senses and do what is right for this country. God bless you and keep doing the good job. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Well, you're still on to Journalist Hangout. We'll have more discussions on this very topic after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still on to Journalist Hangout, and we're still focusing on the primaries in Ekiti State. Well, let's shift our attention to the PDP, where the party's chairman in the state, BC Kolawole, edged out a former governor, Segun Oni, and a former deputy governor, Kolade-Otitoju, to emerge as the PDP candidate for the June 18th governorship election. So, Babjide, when you see this kind of happening, you know, the APC are not having it all too rosy, but the PDP, well, they seem to be having their house in order. What do you make of this?
Well, and there is a semblance of competition, at least over there. No one is saying that there was no competition at the APC. I actually expected the candidate of Governor Opeyemi, that's what's his name again, to win the election. The former SSG in the state. I expected it to win the election, but I didn't expect it to go the way it's gone now, whereby 7 candidates will now say they are not contesting. So I had predicted that Biodun Oyebanji will win. Yes, given that he had the governor's backing and all that. You know, in our kind of politics, you can't wish away certain things. A governor can't be in a contest and be focused on ensuring that his candidate wins, and he will not do whatever it takes to make sure that it's not disgraced, because it will even be seen as a disgrace that the president, that the governor's candidate lost. That rarely happens, you know. So now, in the case of the PDP, former Governor Fayose remains the most dominant political figure in the PDP in the state. Yes, he's had his brushes with his former deputy, Biodun Olujimi, the senator, but he still remains the most powerful politician within the PDP ranks. And as I predicted 2 days ago, his candidate, Bisikola Ole, eventually carried the day, because once the national leadership of the PDP said that they were not going to allow special delegates in that contest, it was simply down to automatic and statutory delegates. Automatic delegates are overwhelmingly Fayose's people, because who are the automatic delegates? The ESCO of the party at ward and local government level. Bisikola Ole had presided over them as their chairman. It's just like we have a group here in TVC. I am the chairman. The rest of you work with me. There's no way that those who work with me won't feel comfortable voting for someone that they had worked with for years, that they are comfortable with, than bringing someone that they knew that they do not really know. This is how this thing works. They've been together, you know, through the years. So those automatic candidates were more than the statutory, automatic delegates were more than the statutory delegates. Right. The statutory delegates were like, okay, former House of Reps members, former political office holders, you know. They are usually, you can't compare them to ESCO at wards, all of the wards, more than 100 wards, the ESCO at all the wards, the ESCO at the local government, you know. So that gave them an edge. So, and that was why I knew that we will win. And you can see he scored 671 votes, and Segun Oni scored 330. Wow. You know. So, but at least Oni is saying that they are ready to work with him. That's not the vibes that we are getting
from the APC.
From the APC, they are ready to work with Kolade to ensure that they win. So APC now has to go and put his house in order. Indeed. Because it appears now that whatever the difference, Olujimi pulled out before the contest, you know. But whatever the differences now, it appears they want to work together. Well, Segun Oni was saying that they have nothing. They see nothing wrong about the way the contest went.
All right, I understand we have a call on the line. Please go ahead with your contribution. All right, since we've lost our contact, we've lost our connection with our caller. So, but BC, when you look at the situation that is happening already in Ekiti State, and for instance now, the PDP, well, from what Babjide has said so far, the PDP were able to, you know, find themselves in a situation where they're able to support the candidate from Fayose's camp, but it's not same as we see in the APC camp. So with the likelihood of what is happening in the APC camp now, do you think the PDP has a chance, for instance, to clinch that seat when the election comes in June, on June the 18th? What are your thoughts?
Well, you see, we can't even say for sure that Ekiti State is APC or PDP state. If you look at the history, APC was there when Governor Opeyemi was there as the first-time governor, and he lost to PDP, and PDP was in power when PDP lost to APC. So which means that the two parties, so to say, have a foothold on the state. So we can't really say it like we can say of Lagos now, right, that Lagos is APC state, based on the fact that the state has always been ruled by APC right, from inception. So which means that it's like a 50-50 chance in the first instance, even when all things go right. It's like a 50-50 chance. And now that there is a problem within the APC, it's like creating a chance, so to say, for PDP to
find its way in.
Yes, to have an edge, even though the fact that APC is ruling in the state right now should ordinarily give the party an edge over the PDP in the governorship election. But because of the disunity right now, we may not be able to say that for sure, because like Babjide rightly explained, you don't know what these aggrieved candidates are likely to do at the end of the day. Now, supposing they did not even go to court, which cannot be ruled out right now, the possibility of them also asking their supporters not to vote for the party is high. So what I'm saying is that APC's crisis is indirectly creating a greater chance for the PDP in Ekiti to win. Of course, in PDP too, we know that Senator Olujimi is also not happy about the way the primaries was conducted, and she came out to actually express her reservations about the exercise. But I see the major candidates, the major contestants that could be reckoned with in that PDP primary is the former governor Oni. And since he has come out clearly now to say that he's ready to work with the party, it means that somebody like Senator Olujimi could easily be persuaded or pacified and brought back to the PDP fold, and they can all work together for the party. Let me hold your thoughts.
We need to take this call from Songwater. Afolabi, please go ahead with your contribution.
Good evening. I greet you, Babjide.
Good evening.
And I greet you, my sister Kolade, and the anchor of the program. I am Engineer Kolade. I want to say something about the primary that is going on in Ekiti. You see, that is the area of which I argue about this called direct primary. I said during that time we were agitating on it that can we manage it? The management of the direct primary is one factor that affected APC, as we are rightly saying now. You see, in politics, it's better to arrange yourself at home before coming outside. That is what the PDP have done. I think on the APC aspect, those 7 that withdraw their candidacy or their conducting of that, I think they are giving chance to the one that remains there. They can claim to be a kind of a consensus in a way. In order to manage that, I think the party hierarchy can still come together right from this night. They could be making consultation. I'm only trying to offer solution to them.
Thank you very much, Afolabi. We appreciate your contributions on the show. Well, let's move on to our next discussion. A list of aspirants jostling for the 2023 presidential ticket continues to swell. Now, a former president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, has signified interest to contest the 2023 presidential election. And another aspirant is the former governor of Imo State, Senator Rochas Okorocha, who also declared his intention to vie for the country's #1 job. Now, while Saraki declared his intention on social media, Okorocha made clear his desire to run for the presidency on the floor of the Senate. So, Babjide, now with the likes of Senator Saraki and Okorocha and other political bigwigs joining the fray to contest the presidential elections, what do you make now of the caliber of these presidential aspirants, given the fact that some Nigerians are yearning for true visionary leaders and not some of those old politicians that has been at the helm of affairs for quite some time now?
But the truth is, even some of the politicians who have been around for some time, some of them are capable of providing the right leadership.
What makes you say so?
Yeah, because of their track record. Asiwaju, for example, has been around for quite some time, although he has not had the opportunity to lead Nigeria. But I'm convinced that you are talking about visionary leadership. He's one of the best around. And I'm not saying this to patronize him. You know, I don't have to patronize him. I've not seen him since 2018. I don't go to his house. He doesn't tell me what to say on the program. I'm just saying the truth. And it shows, because when you look at Lagos, the things that he initiated in Lagos, in other states, they are beginning to copy those things. It was Asiwaju that brought the idea of independent power to our country with Enron. If not for our laws that say if we generate power and is above like 50 megawatts, you have to feed it into the national grid. Every state should be able to generate its own power and make it available for its citizens. If that had been the case, by now Lagos would have been having 24 hours of uninterrupted power supply. Look at BRT, for example. It was Tinubu's idea. In fact, the vehicles had already been ordered. It was when Fashola now came that he implemented it fully. It was Asiwaju's idea to have BRT, and that's another first in our country. Today, I know that Kano State is planning to do something like BRT. I know. Talk about traffic management, LASMA. That's something that that's another idea that he came up with. Today, if you go to Kano, in fact, their own version of LASMA is much more, in terms of its no-nonsense character. It's much more dreaded than even LASMA. They call them Karota. You dare not mess with Karota in Kano. That's an idea that the man came up with. So, in terms of ideas that make a country greater, people like him are still there. Nigeria has never lacked people who have got the intellect to lead us. But the problem is, do they always get the chance? The answer is no. Everyone knows that Awolowo, for example, had ideas, ahead of his time. But he never got the chance to be president. And after he died, they started calling him the best president Nigeria never had. Even some of his worst enemies who made sure that he never became president, they were the ones saying Awo was the best president Nigeria never had. Because of the first that the Southwest that Awo presided over came up with. The television station, the Liberty Stadium, even Cocoa House, and what's it called? An estate. The first big estate that our country will see. This man came up with a free education. He was brimming with ideas, but he never got a chance. So it's not the age of the people that really matters, but the quality of ideas that they've got.
Okay.
So some old people have bright ideas. So some young people can't deliver. So it's not, you may have been saying some politicians for so long, but if they had not been given the chance to serve as president, for example, or even as senator, you will never be able to determine whether they will do an excellent work. Look at Nasir Zaradin. People are praising him that he's doing well in Kaduna. Nasir Zaradin was not a politician from the beginning. He was headhunted into BPE and then served. Obasanjo made him minister of FCT. But you can see the experience. He was a consultant. He was in the private sector, a quantity surveyor. The experience that he garnered in public service, all of them have helped him to be one of the best governors of his generation. So in other words, experience counts now in this case if anyone is seeking experience counts. Then bright ideas count. I'm saying that if you can marry all of that together, you have bright ideas and you have the right people to work with you. IBB had some very brilliant people working with him, Professor Omar Bogunje and the rest of them. And he achieved a lot. We may not like him as an individual, but we can point at a lot of things that he did. Nobody can say that he didn't do this. The first dual carriageway in northern Nigeria, stretching from Abuja to Kano, it was IBB's work. Nobody can say he didn't do it. We may hate him because he annoyed June 12 and some of the other bad things that he did. But that was what he did in his time. So if you also have the right people around you, you may not be bright as an individual, but if you have people who are bright around you, your own limitations will not show, and those people will help you to become a good leader. So the good leader is the leader who can bring the right people together to help him, and Asiwaju did that here. Yes, this is not simply about Asiwaju. So I'm saying that the likes of Okorocha and Saraki. Okorocha also did well in Imo State. He is the architect of modern Imo State. Again, he has his excesses. No one can deny. Right. But you can't go to Imo if you have not been to Imo for years and you went there after the Okorocha years. You will see the imprimatur of Okorocha, the good things that he did. You know, opening up Owerri to other the communities around it, you know, and the network of roads, hospitals, and all that he did. Yeah, no politician is perfect, but it's possible that when a person gets a chance to serve at a higher level, he can even take his qualities a notch higher. So that's what I'm saying, that let's not dismiss people that, oh, they've been around for so long, they can't make the difference. I've seen people like Mo Halu. He contested the last election. I'm convinced that if Mo Halu gets a chance to serve, or a Donald Duke, who was one of the youngest governors of the 1999 set, no one can convince me that Donald Duke will not do well as president of Nigeria if he gets the chance, because he's full of ideas. So we may have been saying some people for so long, it doesn't mean that if they get a chance to serve, that they won't do well. No. And I admit that there could be some young people too who will do better than these people. But at the end of the day, let people come out, show what they've got, and the voters will decide. Well, incidentally, BC, Senator Okorocha, we understand, is one of the prominent presidential aspirants for the Southeast, and Southeast, we know, has been agitating for the presidency. Now, do you think Okorocha has that popularity, as it were, to garner that support to clinch the coveted job as being the president of the country?
Well, I wouldn't say I don't know. Really, I don't know, because the APC primary will determine that. Okay, because as it is, everybody is an aspirant, right. And it is at the primary that the party delegates will decide who they think is most popular to actually get them the ticket if they want to continue in government by 2023. Yeah, but looking at the issue you are trying to bring up about the agitations of the Southeast, agitation of the Southeast, I think it is legitimate. They are part of Nigeria, and they have every right to also become the president. for one of them to become a president in Nigeria. But then you see, it's politics is not as straightforward as the fact that because you have a right to become something, you get it. It's a game of numbers, and this number has to come to play. It is either if you don't have the number, can you get the numbers by working with other parts of the country in order to be able to make it to the top. You know, these are the issues. It's not just presidency is not served as a la carte, and whichever way we want to look at it, we may say, okay, this they want to become, and I also agree that they should, you understand, but then it goes beyond that. So for people like Senator Okorocha, it's good that is in there, and I'm sure that many other people will still come in, and there are so many other people since Asiwaju declared this interest, you could see that the political space suddenly just opened up. Everybody was just everywhere has been, yes, exactly. So I guess many other people, even from other political parties from the southeast, will still come out. You know, you hear names like Ohabua, even though he has not publicly declared his intention. Yes, so I'm sure that, and I'm sure that Obi is also still there, still not seeing his ambition and all of that. So maybe the two will come out and all of that. So I can only wish whoever is coming out right now the best of luck. In their including
the perennial contestants.
Yes. Perennial contestants. By whom do you want? Okay, let's take this call. Barnabas is online. Please go ahead with your contribution, Barnabas.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Barnabas.
Good job, sir.
Thank you.
And my contribution is this. I think APC are not willing to learn from the past. They lost Bayelsa, they lost Zamfara due to things like this. And now they are making the code very clear for PDP. PDP is getting an easy right, except if they call a stakeholders meeting as fast as possible to talk to the aggrieved aspirants, or else PDP will take Ekiti as easier than we all thought. Now, on the issue of Rogers Okorocha and Saraki, so I'm sorry to ask you this question. You talked about Ashwaju, you talked about Okorocha. I was ready to talk about Saraki, being the youngest for now.
Saraki is a very bright guy. You know, when you listen to him, he's a bright guy. And I may not like his politics, but if you get a chance to sit with him, you know that he's full of ideas. Whether he can translate those ideas to solid governance is an answer blowing in the wind. But again, sometimes the team that you have determines how successful you are. You may not be excellent at what you do, but your team, if you have a fantastic team, they will do wonders. As much as we mock Abacha for his greed, Abacha achieved a lot. Abacha achieved a lot, and it was also because he had some people who are very good on his team. So for these people, it's down to the people to work with them. Who would have Fashola, for example, as a minister of works, despite the limitations in terms of financing and all that? We've seen what Fashola has been able to do. You know, he did it in Lagos, he's doing it at the national level. So if we have people like that, we'll find the right people, the best that we can lay our hands on, and we build a cabinet of bright people, forward-thinking people, you know, patriots, not people out simply to steal money and then pretend to the rest of us that they are Puritans. If we get such people, Nigeria will be taken to the next level.
Final thoughts, BC, on this matter before we wrap the show.
I agree with him. We just need forward-looking people, and I also think that the old politicians should also bring in new people and mentor younger generation, knowing that they are not going to be there forever. So I'm expecting that in the current dispensation, the younger ones should also be encouraged to come in so that people can work together and we have a better Nigeria.
Indeed, and that's a fine place to live it. Thank you very much, Olabisi Deji-Folutile, and as usual, Babjide Kolade-Otitoju. It's a pleasure to have your thoughts on Journalist Hangout. And that's about it on today's edition of the show. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the program. And you can watch a repeat broadcast of the show tonight at 11. And don't forget also to join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Esther Makwariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.